now we're talking about the people who will be standing there in a booth number in a map. Interesting thing is the flow of the purchasing power that will go this walk. So yes, if you are a designer, if you're a purchaser, you're a quality guy, you're thinking about Rheocasting, follow this route. Take the guided tour, stop by Casting Campus, get a map, and you can learn more in one afternoon at the Euroguss that you probably can do in many other ways. And if you're still more hungry, go to the Rheocasting Masterclass, and then boom, boom, you are one of the 1% experts that are walking shoes in this globe. And then new horizons will open. So take the opportunity. Hello and welcome to the Gold Casting podcast. Today we are thrilled because we're going to give you an overview of how Rheocasting and semi-solid casting is taking over the Euroguss in 2026 in January. Before going into it, you might question what semi-solid and what Rheocasting is. So what is Rheocasting and semi-solid, Fabian?
So overall, the definition is that in Rheocasting is just a different melt preparation for high-pressure die casting. So you're casting a slurry, so-called semi-solid. So you have solid particle mixed within a liquid, and that mixture has a different property than the liquid metal. You can think about it, if you have water in a glass bottle, pour it out, it just flows out. And now you do the same thing with a brand new ketchup bottle. You open it up, pour it, nothing happens. You shake it violently, nothing happens. And suddenly your whole plate is filled with ketchup. And ketchup, like a aluminium slurry, is thixotropic. So as soon as it starts to flow, it flows very well, even though it's quite a thick mixture.
Why would you like to do your aluminum into ketchup before casting it in a high-pressure die casting machine? It doesn't sound sound or smart.
Yeah, if you want to have aluminium fried fries with the ketchup, then you have to do it.
I can eat everything. It's late night.
Now, the difference is that it gives you a different flow pattern. So giving you extremely long flow length that are filled laminally. So you have a melt front that's traveling through your casting, giving you exceptionally good casting properties. Another thing is that the dependency on the silicon content for the castability is not there in Rheocasting. An ALSC2 casts the same way as an ALSC7, so you can reduce the silicon content and at the same time improve your sustainability and get more ductility out of the same alloy. And that's another cool aspect also. It gives you new alloys that have new properties. You can reach new market. So I see it more as a business development tool instead of a technical equipment piece you buy and put onto your machine.
It is, in short, high-pressure die casting 2.0, I would say. I mean, it's the same machine, the same way of building your tool, the same customers, basically, very often, and it just gives you benefits of a new market. So if you're looking for a new market, or if you have a design challenge ahead of you, if you're a designer, listen to this podcast episode and we will go into how you can get as much know-how about semi-solid casting and Rheocasting at the Euroguss in 2026 in a short while by listening to this. That's correct, huh?
Exactly. And we do that review now to give you already an idea where to go for which question, because the Euroguss with all its 6 halls will be the biggest exhibition of the Euroguss after 30 years that has ever been. So more booths, more people. It's very hard to find the right booth if you don't know where to look. And that's why we do that podcast here, to guide you along, to get you into the right hands, to ask your questions.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 ways of indulging all this semi-solid knowledge at the trade show. You have the pavilion, where we have a center with a bundle of interesting companies in the same spot, basically. Then you have the Rheowalk, which is a map with the noted companies and what they actually represent and how they can help you. And then there's a third thing, which is the guided tours, Fabian.
Yep, that's organized by the Euroguss. And they have a guided tour that you can register when you have bought your ticket through their website and are logged in. And then you will meet me there and I will guide you through the whole exhibition We stop at several booths, and people from these booths give also additional information that you don't get otherwise.
So here comes the smart thing with this episode. We will do more or less a guided tour for you by going through company. So if you are an exhibitor, stay tuned. You will hear your name mentioned. Or if you are an interesting visitor, stay tuned for the whole thing so we can describe how and where to go. Good, let's start. The pavilion, Fabian, what do we make out of the pavilion?
I would say that's the center point of the Rheowalk, as it's one large, basically, island in a hall and 7 companies tied to Rheocasting located in one spot. And I think you have a booth there with Comptech.
Yeah, we have. It's the first time in world history. We're very proud of being a part of this booth. We hope, though, that this Euroguss, it's our Foundry customers that are selling more the benefits of Rheocasting. So we look forward to see a lot of OEMs and design owners and purchasers coming by. We might have a Swedish fika and the German version, meaning we changed the coffee to beer instead. But otherwise, it's exactly the same thing. But we're going to go through the company inside this pavilion when we go along in this episode, I think. So let's start from the top level. Why do we do this? And if I might elaborate a little bit, this is the first Euroguss where we see that 72% of all OEM, the volumes of produced cars, if you measure that way, are very interested in semi-solid casting and Rheocasting. That means that we from the Comptech side see that most car makers are coming to this pavilion and this Rheowalk, meaning a lot of purchasing power is present. 72% is quite a high number, but these are the guys that are in verification, development, or using Rheocasting in the daily production of vehicles. So this is a major change. If you asked me 2 years ago, we probably had a figure like, 22, something. So this is one thing. Second thing, to be a little bit wordy here, we have a very strong presence of institutes that have a very high know-how level. I'm not saying that 2 years ago we also had ÖGI and we had our first samples from GTK, but now they have been working intensively for 2 more years, gaining a lot of experience. And I think in many areas, these institutes, they know more about Rheocasting than we at Comptech do, as a matter of fact. I'm sure of it. So that's another point making this Euroguss more interesting for a visitor. The third thing is that we see more and broader functionalities represented when it comes to partners and companies that are supporting Rheocasters, as we call them. Because there's a little bit differences that you have to take into consideration, like to be very specific, for some parts you have lubrication and shot sleeve in a backstroke, for example. And that's why Wieland Caro is of interest for you if you're thinking about going into super leak tight parts, etc.
And then when you know what to spray, then you visit Chem-Trend. And these are the things that also developed with the development of these parts. At VK, we said we run into issues with certain peripherals. Then we contacted these companies. They brought in their best solution, adapted them, and now they work perfectly well with Rheocasting. And you can get that knowledge already pre-made, today like that.
Yeah, you don't need to invent it again.
Exactly.
Talk to the guys. They have spent so many hours in a Foundry in Sweden, so why not save the air ticket and ask them directly instead? So I would say like this is the first Euroguss where we have this global outreach, both from exhibitors doing Rheocasting from China all the way around. You actually jump over and step into Japan, and then you're back in China if you go 360 around the globe. And this is the first real global Euroguss in terms of Rheocasting that we have seen. So that is very important. But as a summary, we have never attracted so much purchase power to the Euroguss as we're doing 2026. Never. This is the biggest thing for us. We have them all. We cannot mention them. We got NDAs, but I already know we have them all. So stay tuned, be with us. Having said that, I'm pretty excited about this. Trying to keep to the script there, Fabian, and you did a magnificent work organizing my thoughts. So shall we just go through from the original path and take it one by one?
I think so. I think when you arrive at the exhibition center at the Euroguss, going through the floodgates, and then you're standing in a big atrium, and you have the possibility to go left and right. And for the Rheocasting tour, we start on the left. So you go left, enter hall 4A.
Where we find what? Bühler, right?
We have Bühler, our Swiss friends from Uzwil.
Yeah, they're friends with you, but they're partners to me, you know, because it's a very strong link between Comptech and Bühler. And for those of you that are into our industry, you know that Bühler represents very high quality machinery for die casting, and they are more and more focusing on the giga casting segment. And again, NDAs and all that, but step in there, talk Rheocasting with the guys, because they are well knowledgeable into this process. They have their own test center in Uzwil with a 1,300 ton machine. It's much cleaner than ours, so talk to the guys, and I can bet you that Ors Dovre is better in their booth than in mine. For sure.
Yep, absolutely. You cannot miss their booth. That's quite a large thing.
Yeah,
and also their booth party is legendary.
That is on the Wednesday, right? I think so. Or ask your local Bühler representative. He will inform you. So, stepping out to Bühler, you are...
Still in the same hall. You just cross the hallway and then you land at Wieland Caro. They are at booth number 322.
Wieland Caro, they are a little bit the silent hero in this, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they had a lot of development work. As for the giga casting, they run through the plunger tips like crazy. And we also with Rheocasting running our issues with these plunger tips until Wieland Caro came along and said, hey, we do something better. Use that plunger system with the rings, with the lubrication on the backstroke, and that should solve your problems. And it did.
It does. They are truly engineers, I would say, Wieland Caro, and they have much more than plunger tips and all that. But I don't know. There's always technology. What I kind of like with them is how they solved our problems. It was engineer to engineer, no big words, just solutions, and then boom, it worked. I was impressed. I'm not a Foundry guy, but you know, sometimes these things can take a lot of time and a lot of discussions. But it was pretty straightforward, and they had an engineered solution. That's impressive for me. So step by Wieland Caro. They are a little bit the silent heroes in this, but when it comes to very complex parts with super elongation or very high leak requirements, look into what they actually can offer. And they also have a good fika, you know.
Yep, and that's true for Rheocasting, but they also do a lot of great plunger tip for high pressure die casting. So that's not unique to Rheocasting, but it's one of the things that brings you a big benefit or causes you a lot of headache if you don't do it right and you haven't stopped by.
Exactly. Okay, now we're praised Wieland Caro that much, so we better come down to earth again. And in the same hall, 4A, in booth number 522, you find a company called Faist Light Metals. And Faist Light Metals are a pioneer in very advanced components for telecom. They are doing these big heat sinks with angled fins and low silicon alloys and all that. And the way they took on this task given by the customer Ericsson was very impressive, I would say. So Faist Light Metals producing parts for telecom, very advanced stuff, big shot weight between 45-50 kilos, I would say, running a Oscar Frech machine, 2,700 tons. Very, very, very well worth a visit, maybe even a detour, but I would go there if I was interested in Rheocasting, especially from a design perspective. You're thinking, what is actually possible? A good place to be. And they're from Italy, you know, so guess about the fika.
And then when the fika turns into red wine.
Yeah,
probably.
After 12 o'clock, yeah, no problem. So,
I think it's time to leave Hall 4A and move on to Hall 4, where we find Magma simulations. And when it comes to Rheocasting, predicting the flow of that slurry is impossible to do it by hand, as the flowability and the patterns that slurry forms during the form filling is so unpredictable for a naked eye, as you have a different condition in every point because of the applied shear forces. So you need a reliable simulation tool to predict what the quality outcome will be and how to adjust your gates, your overflows and whatnot. And that's the thing that Magma does.
Yep, in short. They do it. But there's a but here. The thing is, if you are strolling by Magma and listening into Horst Bramman and his team, you probably are impressed about all the things that dear Fabian is telling. But if you're a little bit down to money or sustainability, you should also discuss with them the new modules they have where you can compare the sustainability effect and actually also the cost effect. So you can compare two different parts with two different processes, basically, and see directly as simulated result. So, I mean, you might say, yeah, that's yet another spreadsheet, but it's based on a simulation that predicts this is okay or not okay. So if you have two okay simulations, you are actually comparing more apples to apples than apples to pears. And I think this is widely underestimated or people don't see the value of this, but I kind of see it because it's when you're labbing around, as we say in Sweden, with all these factors, you see the difference. If you work your cycle time or your shot weight or your deburring or whatever you do, you actually get it directly. And it's pretty accurate, I would say. So yeah, look at these colorful pictures of laminar flows with the Horst and the guys, but also check into the module where the money comes into the picture.
Or even if what they're doing now is more going into from filling simulation to whole process simulation, that you're not only looking at how the metal gets into the tool, they're also looking into how the parts gets out of it, what will be the distortion and things like that. How will the properties be locally impacted by the solidification? And then you'd suddenly see why it can be interesting to add also some jet coolers in some areas and things like that. So they quite evolved their simulation tools.
Yeah. You filter out a lot of problems if you do it correctly from that perspective before cutting into the tool steel, I would say. This pod is about money. I mean, that is a saving. Okay, now we have praised Magma, so we better get a free fika when we go there. Jumping into the next one, Hall 4 still, booth 116, we got DGS, Rheocasting St. Gallen.
Yeah, a Swiss foundry that has Rheocasting implemented in a 4,400 ton Bühler machine. So probably the largest Rheocasting cell in Europe.
Yeah, it's the largest in Europe, not the largest on the globe. Interesting thing with DGS, though, you always forget that they also have factories in China and in the Czech Republic. So they're truly becoming a global player. Well-earned cred when it comes to structural die castings and thin wall stuff. But the interesting thing is, with this 4,400 ton machine, they have produced a number of samplings and trial castings and developments. And this Euroguss, you can actually go there and look at them and do. Because all our customers running Rheocasting are doing excellent stuff. But I can tell you without revealing too much, these parts are extreme in their own way when it comes to thin walls and size and projected areas and things like that. So go there, speak to the guys, and it will be worth staying there, that I can say. Perfect. Then we step into the Hall 5. And stepping into Hall 5 means that you step into an array of companies working Rheocasting. But the most important one is in booth number 153, Casting Campus. And it's pretty close now because that's you, Fabian, basically.
Exactly.
But you will be two people in the booth, so we are all curious about this expansion of the Casting Campus. Anyway, Casting Campus is a very, very important partner for Comptech Rheocasting. It's no doubt about it, and it serves us in many, many ways. And we have been working together for a couple of years now. First in the DGS time when you were employed there and doing all these trials I was describing, but now running your own show. And there's so much you can actually get from Casting Campus when it comes to casting planning and industrialization and all that. But I think the most important thing is actually the market outlook, how to find new businesses. And so don't be shy now if I'm praising you too much, dear Fabian. But if you are looking for new business, new horizons, stepping out over the customer base you're having, take a cup of coffee with dear Fabian at Casting Campus, or at least inform yourself about the Rheocasting Masterclass, which is an excellent way of getting into this if you're not already in the semi-solid business. So two things here in summary: new markets or get more knowledge. Rheocasting Masterclass. That is why I would stop there. Then it's a nice chap, you know. I don't know if he has any fika, but that can be arranged, as they say in Robin Hood.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a well description. So come, stop by, shake some hands if it's about the podcast or if it's about the Rheocasting business side. So getting in from the business case over through the marketing phase into part development and then into the series production. All you get that from one booth, and that's the booth at Casting Campus. And then there also will be a separate invitation for Rheocasting and red wine.
Ooh.
And then
I'll send people your way. You know it.
After this, we go to the epicenter of Rheocasting, which is the first mentioned Rheocasting Pavilion. And do you want to talk about what you're doing there? Because I think you're one of the spearheads that brought the Rheocasting Pavilion to the Euroguss and then filled it up with the other companies.
Well, to be a little bit humble, Teresa, Mario, and the team at Euroguss has put a lot of work into this. But again, it is the epicenter, and Comptech will be there, but in a very new role. And the interesting thing is that we will take this opportunity in this pavilion to launch 2 new softwares called Rheo Quality, Rheo Q, and Rheo S, meaning Rheo Start. So these 2 new softwares are of interest for anybody working quality, because the typical standard question about semi-solid casting is it stable? These are the 2 tools to make it stable. One tool, Rheo Start, is for making the prediction where to start the casting, basically, to give the starting point when it comes to all these small details like how fast to cast and what kind of size of EM should I have and superheat and all that. You get it based on your part. The second thing is the Rheo Q, Rheo Quality, which is a software where you do a very simple grinding, a photo of your metal in a microscope. It's a very cheap microscope. It's not an electron microscope. And just upload it and get back the solid fraction in an instant. That is pretty cool, because then you can start to really communicate, either if you're a quality guy or working with a quality guy, you can actually measure this in a very effective way. You can do it once a day, once an hour, once a week, once a month. We know it's stable, but sometimes people have to prove it yet another time. So this is very important. But speaking about us, this is what you can find, and we will be happy there to guide you, to put you on the Rheowalk, to introduce you for partners, colleagues, foundries, customers, whatever we seem fit or you're asking for. We're a service company. Let's talk a little bit about the rest of the guys that you will find at the pavilion.
I think I have to add one thing, because the most important thing I think you left out is also that you are the supplier of these slurry makers to make the whole Rheocasting process
you mean
happen.
What we do? yeah.
I think that's a small detail we should mention.
Yeah. That small box that costs you something, but yeah, we do that mixing station, as people call it, a slurry maker. Yeah, the booth is not big enough for our slurry makers, but we'll show you with other means of technology, for sure. Thank you for that note.
You're welcome. I think that should be there. And then we should go around and see who else is in the pavilion. Should we start in North America?
Yeah, you mean Spartan Light Metals.
Exactly.
Chris Leaf and team, Scott Meyer, I think, will be there. They are a very sizable Foundry group in the US, doing a lot of things in Rheocasting. They are doing developments in thin walls and thick walls and really pushing the boundaries in North America. So we are super happy to have them there. One side note here, one of their factories is located in a town called Mexico that lies in Indiana. So when they talk about the Mexico facility, well, you don't need to eat enchiladas. You're still, in NFL country. So that is the only thing that makes them complicated. Otherwise, they're super straightforward, super nice people, and very knowledgeable in Rheocasting.
Also very knowledgeable is if we come to the next foundry, which is Dynatool Industries, who are the pioneers of Rheocasting in North America. I think everybody have seen the Rivian hinge pillar that is made by Dynatool, because we showed it around so much, as it's a great piece of engineering, a great work of sustainability, and it's all produced in Canada, and they are also part of the pavilion.
Yes, and they have probably, I haven't measured, but it's not too daring to say that Dynatool is probably the foundry that has been successfully industrializing most parts in Rheocasting. Definitely, if you look at the number of article numbers and what they are producing in volume, and I know, and they have to tell you themselves at the trade fair, but they have now Japanese customers that they are making parts for, and that is not super easy to get to that point. So hats off, and happy happy to see JC Tavil being there. Another hint about Dynatool, you heard me saying JC Tavil. Once I said Jean-Claude, and then he said, it's only my mother that calls me that. Everybody calls him JC. So if you want to talk to him, don't shout Jean-Claude, shout JC. Then he will turn around and say, hello and welcome to Dynatool.
These small things. And then we have another company in North America that is more newer to the Rheocasting field. That is the PSW Group, who sells Rheocasting alloys. Because I think the typical foundry alloys that we know, ALSC10 and all of these things, they don't really work with Rheocasting. And the cool thing is that they are also producing alloys for especially the thermal conductivity with very low silicon, ALSC 2.5, that you really get the maximum thermal conductivity out of aluminium. And they sell it in North America and I think also in China.
Oh, not only that. PSW is worldwide distributor. So they are pretty much selling to, if you want it in India or Vietnam or Japan or Korea, wherever. PSW belongs to a super big group. They have a global footprint that is massive. So even if you're sitting on, I don't know, Iceland, don't be shy to ask. They probably can solve it. Would like to make a little bit of a distinction here also. I know that everybody says that, yeah, but something called Rio Cool, Rio Green, you cannot sell to the car industry. Well, are you sure? Because now we see signs that especially non-legacy producers of EVs are not that bound to the same standards. And if you take a Rio Green, which is basically an A380 with less silicon, the only thing you do is save the planet a little bit more. So super happy to have Mr. Tao Wang here. And again, welcome to the club, PSW, and looking forward to see them there. Because you can sell casting machines like Comptech, you can do parts like G-Plast and Spartan and everybody on the booth, but you need something to pour into your machine. And here you go. You got PSW and later on also Stena. So that's PSW.
Then I think we can jump over the Atlantic and come to Germany, where we find PTS Prüftechnik.
Yeah, they are experts in casting engineering, casting technology, casting planning, as we call it in Europe. Interesting also to note here is that Benjamin Bode and Andreas Harbart, they are excellent engineers in simulations. And now I must be a little bit like this. I mean, making a simulation is one thing. Reading the simulation is another thing. And knowing how to adjust before you do the next iteration. So if you're standing there with a problem part, a difficult part, higher requirements, check in with the guys. They can probably help you very, very much. I know that they are pretty occupied with some interesting projects right now. Not in Europe. They have to tell you about it, but it's well worth it if you're thinking about an expansion on the technical side into Rheocasting, to talk to Andreas and Benjamin. And they're nice guys.
Yep.
Also. Then let's go to India,
where we find G-Plast, the first Indian foundry who does Rheocasting.
Yes, in an 800-ton Bühler machine, brand new. Very excited about this. So Mr. Manimaran and his team will welcome you and offer their capacity in India. India is a very interesting country, or continent if you like. Everybody will say that, yeah, but there's not that much cars. They're only doing 4 million cars a year. But the thing is, the way they export things and the quality of the things being exported out of India is just increasing dramatically. So even if you're not thinking about doing business in India, stop by and talk about India. Because I think this is one of the white spots on the casting map for many people. We think it's cheap stuff, low quality. It's not. So check in. Another interesting thing I have to mention, I mean, there's always something interesting. But the owner, I think Mr. Raj Kumar will be circling around in this trade fair as well. He's actually the grandson of the guy with the most patents in the Indian history. And that his granddad was actually... friend of Mahatma Gandhi. So if you feel tired about talking about technology and molten metal and all that, I mean, step by and have a chit chat with the guys from G-Plast and in general, and especially Mr. Raj Kumar in particular, because he's such an interesting guy, because he has taken this legacy further on and actually created reality out of a vision that was born many years ago in India. Interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think that concludes the epicenter of Rheocasting, it's formed in the pavilion. And then we can continue the tour to more booths, and without leaving the hall, we also have Millison in China, one of the very, very large foundry suppliers or foundries in China, located in Chongqing, and they're also producing a lot of heat sinks with Rheocasting to get these crazy high thermal conductivities.
Yeah, they're into this and they're into many other things. So what I was say is that stop by and talk to them, because they are in the epicenter of die casting China. Millison is a well-known brand.
I've been to the test center, and yeah, every foundry around the world has water dripping out of their mouth when they see what they have as a test center, and would love to have that in their series production, what they have there.
And again, we sign a lot of NDAs. We cannot be outspoken about everything. They cannot neither. But there's a reason why they are a trusted partner in China for development of new vehicles and new designs. So in short, they are interesting without revealing too much. So stop by. See if you see Wang Chu or Mr. Richard Chang or some of the team or Miss Max. They can service you on a very high level in China in a variety of machines as well. So worth stopping by, or take a detour to 361, which is the booth number. Then
we still stay in the same hall, and we are switching gears from foundries into the academic world, and we have 2 universities present there as well with booth. The first one is the ÖGI, or the Austrian Foundry Institute, which also have a slurry maker installed in their tech center on a 550-ton machine. And they also did a lot of research in the last years on that machine.
They do. I cannot underestimate how important ÖGI has been for us at Comptech, because we're a small company, and having these serious academics, I'm not talking about these academics that want to write articles and go on conferences all the time. The ÖGI guys, they really roll up their sleeves and do things first in the laboratory. So they know their ropes, and the way they have supported our customers and the industry as a whole when it comes to rheology, different measurements, and now they are they are combining their deep knowledge in sand cores with Rheocasting. This is going to be a very interesting journey for purchasers, producers, whoever. So stopping by ÖGI, well spent time.
And also, the next stop is right in the same corner where all the other universities are. That's the GTK, or the University of Kassel, with Professor Fehlbier. And they have a 1,400-ton Bühler machine, also equipped with a slurry maker. And for a university, they are surprisingly busy with customer trials and producing amazing results on that machine, which you usually don't expect from a university. So they have quite a deep understanding of various applications, how to transform high-pressure die casting parts into Rheocasting.
Exactly. And I think, as I said in the beginning, the Institute's been around for more than 2 years, but now they have spent 2 years in making a lot of trials. This goes also for ÖGI, that the amount of trial castings and developments and testings that has been done. I mean, take, for example, this casting of 226 alloy for some German customers that was very, very successful at GTK. Before at Comptech, we said, no, we don't think it works. Well, Professor Velby and team made it work, and by the way, it's a great results that are of interest for many people. So I think basically, if you have a part in your hand, start in this corner and then do the reversed tour or Rheowalk if you like, because then you actually get a decision very quickly. I think that's very, very interesting.
Also, you get a really unbiased, knowledge-driven view on the things.
Yeah, because they're not representing anybody. I mean, I'm selling machines. Guess what? Where I lean towards. So here you get. And also,
if you're smart about that and go into that, they have a lot of students that at a certain point of time are looking for jobs, and they are well-educated students. That might be also a good thing to start a conversation and have a good line of people coming into your foundry.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of things in Hall 5, but eventually you have to step out of Hall 5, and then you might think, okay, what to see next? I've seen it all. Well, you haven't. You step into the Hall number 7. And the first thing you find in booth number 132 is Stena Aluminium. And Stena Aluminium is a I have to describe this because I'm Swedish. It's a Swedish company, and you know, we have a keen interest in sustainability, and Stena Aluminium belongs to the Stena company. Stena company is by other things a very big recycling company. Recycling everything, plastic, paper, aluminum, material, so forth. And they have been the backbone and development of alloys. They are pretty local. They are making the alloys in Sweden. They're shipping them pretty much to Northern Europe, but they're doing it very good. And they were the backbone of development of Rheocool, Rheo Green, probably do some more work around Rheo Strong, Rheo Body and all these things, and are well-known producer. But the thing is, with the sustainability angle, they are probably representing the lowest carbon dioxide footprint ever for a recycled material. 0.36 kilograms of carbon dioxide per kilogram of aluminum. The only way you can do that is by being nitty-gritty with the details and changing in your process and buying the right scrap and optimizing your transports and everything. I mean, then it's, let me put it like this, hitting 0.9, you can probably do it in many places in Europe, but when you start to go down to 0.36, you are dramatically changing something. Learn more about it. Stop by Stena and talk about sustainability, because they are back to back with IKEA in the same town, actually, Älmhult. Hard-working people, smart people. Go there. Anyway.
And then we already leave Hall 7 again when we have talked to Stena Aluminium, and we move on to Chem-Trend.
Yeah.
Our friends with the release agent. And what you need to know is that we spent countless hours, days, weeks in the foundry together with Chem-Trend, because we've seen the release agents that are made for high pressure die casting are not the perfect fit for Rheocasting.
Not so all the time, no.
But for the certain extreme applications that we are after, we have some deficiencies. And then Darko and his team worked quite hard to develop new release agents, adapt existing release agents to fit the various applications.
They never say no.
Yeah. They always came, they're interested, they contributed, and they helped out a lot to get to great castings with their release agent. So if you have an issue with any type of release agent, stop by at their booth. They're right at the entrance when you go back to the beginning if you're going right.
You know, Fabian, I'm allergic to people that are standing at a bar and saying, oh, it's so easy, we were so smart, we combined blah, 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 and then we made a heck load of money or something. And all these arguments. But when it comes to Chem-Trend, I have a feeling that even if you, I don't know this for a fact, but if you need to pay a little bit more for a higher grade of their release agent, I bet you save 50% at the end of the day. That's my experience.
That's usually the thing from a purchasing view. Oh, you have white water here and white water here. That one is more expensive, yet use that. But the real factor is not what you buy.
No.
The real factor is how much you use and what the overall casting quality at the end is like.
Exactly.
And that's not in the Excel sheet of your purchaser.
No.
And we've seen dramatic differences by that.
Yeah. And
then you even haven't touched on microspray, where you get into a whole different field of efficiency.
Yes. But if you're getting that kind of service locally with someone who actually knows something, who has a toolbox with tools and doesn't need to go to a laboratory, cook something together, and then blah 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 blah, they can actually tweak around the tools they have in the toolbox pretty much.
And they usually stop by to help you get started also.
Yeah, because I'm being a little bit philosophical here. If you take Chem-Trend, if you take Stena Aluminium, if you take Caro Wieland, if you take PSW, if you take all these guys selling stuff to us in the industry, it is as a matter of fact, the same alloy from two producers will differ. How clean is it? How much oxides do I have? How much crap do I put into my tool and then do the casting and let it solidify? How much crap do I get from my spray system? How much oil do I get from the plungy tip and all that in the shot sleeve? If you combine all these things, you go from a crappy part to a high quality part in one go. There's a reason why we have been working with Darko for what is it now, 10 years? Or Stena Aluminium for what is it, since the 80s, you know. I mean, we wouldn't do that if things came out crappy. So what I'm trying to say in a philosophical way here is that, you got foundries showing parts, Very interesting. You got machine makers selling machines, us, Bühlers and others, but then you have the day-to-day business getting a quality level that is constant. And you don't have time to fool around with your experimental plan for both the spray system, the lubricant system, the alloy, blah, 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 blah. Then you get 3 different variables that every of these contain a bunch of yes and no questions. You don't have time for it. You need quick solutions.
Also, when you just do one of these things in your trial, because you're always limited on time, you don't get the full picture and you don't get the full result. It's always that combination out of all of these factors that make your casting amazing and therefore also your margin worthwhile.
Yeah. So we have gone through the list, quite a list, I would say.
Absolutely, quite a long list. There is a lot of discussions and conversations to go through when you follow that list. By the way, you don't have to remember everything we said in that podcast. We put a download link in the show notes so you can download the map where everything is printed and you can take that with you to the Euroguss and just follow along.
Yeah, or email us and we send you one or yeah. But again, now we're talking about the people who will be standing there in a booth number in a map. Interesting thing is the flow of the purchasing power that will go this walk. So yes, if you are a designer, if you're a purchaser, you're a quality guy, you're thinking about Rheocasting, follow this route, take the guided tour, stop by Casting Campus, get a map, and you can learn more in one afternoon at the Euroguss that you probably can do in many other ways. And if you're still more hungry, go to the Rheocasting Masterclass and then boom, boom, you are one of the 1% experts that are walking shoes in this globe. And then new horizons will open. So take the opportunity. And if you would like to sit down with me or Fabian or someone, give us a call. I know that getting a couple of guys at the Euroguss in an exact time slot is like, yeah, difficult. But before or after lunch, per certain day, then we are saving the space for you.
A rough estimate is more than enough. Then you can see and plan for that and coordinate.
Yep, that's perfect.
And then we also can prepare what questions you already have and then have the perfect answer ready.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, to see you the 13th of January in Nürnberg.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to meet you, shake your hands, and
see you then.
See you there.
Good.
Goodbye.
Wiedersehen. Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.